Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to a little bit of a mystery, or trying to uncover a little bit of a mystery here in a village in Gloucestershire. This time of year, as we're approaching Christmas, I tend to do videos a little bit closer to where we live. Now this village is interesting. It's also huge, not huge in terms of population. I'll put in what the exact population of the village is down below now. But in terms of its geographical area, you can actually spend 15-20 minutes or more driving from one end to the village or the other. At the moment, the road, the B road, continues on to a town. That town is called Newent, and that road at the moment is currently flooded, so there's no way to get to the neighbouring town from this village, well, unless you're very brave and have a car that's got a high wheelbase on it, but that's another story. The village I'm in, though, is the village of Tainton. No, not Paynton, Tainton, Taynton, and it covers a huge area. To get to it, you head west from the city of Gloucester on the main A40, which goes right into Wales. And before you get to Ross-on-Wye in Herefordshire, you come to another village called Huntley, and you kind of turn off right there. In fact, it's not that far from May Hill, somewhere we'll be finishing up on the Geopark Way later next year. There's a church behind me. I think it's called St Lawrence, and it's actually a relatively new church built in the 19th century, and it replaced one which was much older. In fact, what we're going to look at is the site of the original heart of the village, because there's lots there. I was attracted to this place. I was actually going to go on to somewhere else filming here, and I saw this on the map and it stood out at me. I saw moat, Motton Bailey, that kind of thing, and I decided to uncover more. There's lots of secrets in this village of Tainton here in Gloucestershire. So I hope you can join me again for another wander here on West Country Wanderings. Now, not related to our story that we're trying to uncover here at Tainton, but as I was wandering through the graveyard here next to the church, in fact on the OS map it's not marked as a church, it's actually marked as a chapel, so it shows you how small it is, but it's still active. There is a church service here on Christmas Day. But yes, this is a gravestone, would you believe? There is an inscription on the back, and I'll just read that out, because I've never ever seen one that's made of metal before. I'd say nearly all gravestones are made of stone. Sometimes they're made of wood. But there is a marker on it, and it was to a lady called Ellen Dorney. And the date, I think, well, she actually died at 42 years of age in 1860. And there's another name underneath. I think it says Rainy Dorney. It's hard to make out. And died May 1870. So this dates, I would imagine, that could have been her husband, and this was made after he died, and then obviously they made this as a marker memorial to both of them here. But yes, really unusual to see that here in the graveyard here at Tainton in Gloucestershire. Propped up against the side of the church here at Tainton is this enormous gravestone. It's a great big slab of red sandstone, I think. Here lies the body of, and I can't make it out, but I do think it says 1694. But unfortunately a lot of it is now legible, worn away by time. Now the Three Choirs Way, which I think connects the three cities of Hereford, Worcester and Gloucester, that cuts right through this lane in the village here. I told you it was a very sparsely populated place, and that goes down this way. But what's that building up there? Let's have a closer look at that. Well, this is actually Tainton's parish room, presumably as opposed to Village Hall. Very curious and intriguing building. Drops down steeply on this other side down to a farm, but where we need to go is the other side of that farm. So I'm going to drive on a little bit further. It's a bit too inclement to go for a longer walk today though. But behind the parish rooms here is May Hill. You can just make that over there on the left of the screen. Well, welcome to the original Tainton. Now this here is one of two moats, two complete moats. Very, very gusty here today. It's been gusty all week, hasn't it? It's been very, very windy. But at least it's dry for the moment here. But yes, here you can make out a complete moat encircling this bank. You can't go through it there, there's an electric fence. I think the farmer has put that up to stop his cattle falling in there, because the moat and the ditch around here is quite deep. So what's going on here? Obviously we saw the church back there. We saw the parish rooms. In fact, I drove past another village hall, which is the combined village hall of Tiverton and Tainton. I think that one gets used. There was quite a few cars parked out of this. But this was an original settlement. This here was an Iron Age settlement here. There's another moat and moss and bailey a bit further on. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But yes, so this is an original settlement here. But of course there's nothing left. Now, it could be that there was the Dobuni tribe came to this part of the world, and also Roman settlements here as well. There was a Roman parva here. There's a local metal detecting club, the Tainton Metal Detecting Club, and I'll put a link to their website because they've done lots of fantastic finds on, and if you click on that website you'll see all of the finds that they found in the fields in this area. In fact, the whole parish covers some 2,200 acres. So why is this no longer here? Why are there no other houses around this area? Because there's nothing. There's a cottage down there and there's a farm over there, but the original settlement of Tainton has disappeared completely. Well, before I tell you about that, let's see if we can find the other moat and mottle bailey to try and piece this all together. So that's looking back at our first moat there, the cottage just to the right of it. So I've just come onto the other corner of the field. There's an electric fence over, so we need to go through here to find our second moat. But before we do that, there's also an embankment. Can you see that there? And there's also a ditch which has been widened obviously for agricultural purposes, but I do think that that was used originally for the defensive network in this area. Let's go through here. Now unfortunately this part right of way has been partially blocked. The original style is broken there, and this here has been tied back. You probably think you can just undo that, but unfortunately if you look at the other side, the latch has been padlocked, so you can't undo it to open the gate. So I've had to scrabble over that, but I'm not giving up that easily, so we're going to continue on. So we're over at the other side now, and we come round to this rather boggy terrain. So this is our second moat, which is actually much, much bigger than the first one that we see, which was near the narrow road towards the town of Newent. Now this one's got quite a high tump on it, so we can actually cross the line of the moat here. So let's do that just to get onto the top on the other side there. So you can see now we're up quite high on a bank. And there's our line of our moat. A defensive ditch which kind of goes round here in the top of the bank, and it continues on. Running right down there, running all the way around where I'm standing now. So what's going on here? Now the first thing to say about this site, it doesn't seem to be protected under like Natural England or anything like that. There's no sign, there's no interpretive sign. In fact, if you put in Tainton in Wikipedia, it doesn't even mention this at all, which is really, really peculiar, isn't it? The only information I've been able to glean online is from the metal detecting website. I can't find anything else on this whatsoever, so it's a bit of a mystery. Now, according to that website, it's believed that this part here would have originally been like a Moss or Bailey affair, and where I'm currently standing, there could have been a castle, probably a rudimentary wooden castle. And also, it was the site around here of Tainton's original church, before the one we saw at the beginning of the video there, St Lawrence Church, which I say was built in the 19th century. No trace of it remains though, so there is nothing you can see actually on the ground of that. There's no like stonework as far as I can see. Now that metal detecting group have done lots of digging around this area with their metal detecting equipment, and they found lots of finds, but I don't think, or I'm led to believe, there's been no official archaeological exploration of this entire area, which I find rather amazing. So this is an amazing area. We've got another lake, or large lake here, for purposes unknown. But why are there no settlements here now, and why is there little evidence of it? Well, I'll tell you right after this break. Well, welcome back. Where does the name Tainton come from? It was actually Saxon. The name Tainton actually comes from two words, Taetas, tun meaning a settlement. In fact, there was two settlements here originally. By the time we got to Edward the Confessor's time, this was a huge, vast area of settlements, quite a wealthy and prosperous area because of all the agricultural land. But it all came to an end. The two manors were held by Ulgar, and the Tainton section of it was held by Alwyn, and he was a sheriff, Alwyn, the new shire of Gloucester, which had been carved out of the Saxon kingdom of Mercia. At the time of Doomsday, William I had given the manor of Tainton to William, the son of Norman, and that name lives on here today in Norman's Farm and Norman's Wood. It later became 8 manors, which belonged to Alwyn and given to William Gosynboded, but Alwyn was allowed to keep Tainton for his lifetime. In medieval times, the land hereabouts got carved up into two sections, Great Tainton and Little Tainton, which was known as Tainton Parva. By the time, though, of the English Civil War, there were lots of battles around Gloucester, and during the English Civil War, this entire area got completely razed to the ground. No one knows if all the inhabitants were killed during that razing of the ground. The settlement grew and became spread out as it is today, with the agricultural community and the scattered farms in the area. But of this here, nothing remains, apart from those couple of moats and embankments and ditches, which is now known as Swan's Tump. Now, this little quiet corner of Gloucestershire, which is largely forgotten by other people in Gloucestershire, has another bit of amazing history, more recent history up its sleeve, which I'll tell you about now. On the 5th of August 1944, a year before the Second World War was to come to an end, Sergeant Norman Brightwell from Cambridgeshire took off on a plane from Aston Down, near the village of Minchinhampton, here in Gloucestershire. It was part of a tactical training exercise. Aston Down was used to train pilots for the war, and he was using an aircraft, a Hawker Typhoon, to climb in fact to 20,000 feet. The weather was actually good on that day, but sadly the engine caught fire, and unfortunately the pilot couldn't bail out, and the plane crashed here in the village of Tainton. Now, the actual wreckage of the craft, or rather most of it, was removed shortly afterwards, but the site became lost. I don't know exactly where the site was, but in 2005 the metal detecting group uncovered further remains, and they invited an ancestor of, or rather relative should I say, of Sergeant Brightwell, who was piloting that plane on that fateful day, to come back here. And there is a photograph of the lady who came here to the field where the plane crashed in this village of Tainton in Gloucestershire. 4 years earlier, on the 8th of October 1940, a Hampton Hanley Page aircraft took off from RAF Hayford in Oxfordshire with 4 crew on board. Sadly, it ran into difficulties as part of a training exercise and crashed just outside Tainton towards the village of Hynham. So sadly, that remains there. There is a bit of an additional story to that, and it's to do with a teacher. I think she was the head mistress of the school there at Hynham. Unfortunately, the children in the school witnessed the plane come down, and she allowed the children to go out from the school over to the wreckage. Why she allowed that, I have absolutely no idea. Well, you can imagine that the sight, behold, the children that came across that crashed plane near the village. Yeah, it must have been truly dreadful, and you can understand that she got reprimanded for that. But 2 plane crashes here around the parish of Tainton in Gloucestershire. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little adventure here today in Tainton. I found it a fascinating place. There is so much history to it, and I'll put a link to that website, and also if you want to read more details about those 2 plane crashes, there's lots of photographs of the aircraft that were involved in those, and also the names of all the people that lost their lives in the Hynham one as well. But it is an incredible area. It amazes me though, it's not got any type of protection for it in terms of development and agricultural use. And also there's no interpretive signs or anything like that to indicate what is actually here. You had to dig around in the bowels of the internet to find out what actually happened. But there are a couple of books, I do believe, and if I can find those, I'll put a link to them in the description of today's video. Thank you very much for watching West Country Wanderings today from Tainton in Gloucestershire. Hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Take care. Bye-bye.